Hey friends, welcome to the podcast. We are so excited for a fresh conversation with an awesome guest again this week. My name is Taylor Petrinovich, and I am joined by my co-host, Kelly Gilster.
Hi guys, how are you? And Taylor, how are you?
I am doing so great. I'm honestly feeling really inspired coming off of our interview with Lucy Mann of Lucy Camryn Films. What a gem she is, honestly. Just like a ray of sunshine.
She truly is. We met her, I think 4 years ago. She shared in the podcast. You'll hear she's been in business for 5 years, and we did a mentor session with her after her first year, and she just like has it all. Honestly, Paul and I got off that mentorship, and we were like, she's headed for big things. She started her business so young, which is really cool. And she's so mature for her age too. She's 22 now, already had her business for 5 years. It's crazy.
Yeah, she is truly an inspiration. Like when I grow up, I want to be more like Lucy. And I'm like 10 years older. But for real though, like her business is so inspiring in the way she conducts herself and the way she's growing. And I think that she is just such an encouragement to other filmmakers within the industry to show you what's possible if you just go for it. But before we dive into the interview, Kelly, how are you doing this week?
I'm good. We got off of a really fun weekend. We had the weekend off. It was filled with birthday parties, kids' birthday parties all the time. Saturday we went to one of our friend's son's second birthday. Then on Sunday, we wrangled everyone up and went to the good old Rat Casino, Chuck E. Cheese, and we celebrated Micah, my son's fourth birthday. It was a great time. Yeah, it was just easy. This was our first time doing it at like a third party spot. We've always hosted it at our home. And I think Paul and I both decided that this is the way to go moving forward. What about you, Taylor?
Yeah, that's definitely the way to go. I'm trying to think. Actually, I was sick. A pretty horrible stomach bug hit most of the household over the last like 5 days, and so we've been really just kind of like in hibernation mode. But honestly, I feel like sometimes that happens and I'm really thankful for it because I'm such like a go 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 person, like always just looking for things that I can like check off my list. And it's kind of like a forced like resting period, which in the moment is like really aggravating because I'm like, I'm not getting anything done. What is life right now? But I think that coming out of it, I feel like kind of refreshed. So it's kind of like a mini spa day. Not really, but like a little bit.
That's
And I guess
awesome.
that's all the rest you get when you're a mom and when you own two businesses. But
It's
yeah,
wild. It's a wild ride.
it really is, but it's so great. I wouldn't trade it for anything. So
Yeah.
to not bore you guys with talk about me being sick, we're just gonna dive right into this interview with Lucy. This is the Level Up Podcast. I'm Taylor Petrinovich,
And I'm Kelly Gilster of 618 Studios.
and we are on a mission to help filmmakers level up their businesses and their craft so they can make more and work less.
We want to help you confidently take your business from mainstream to luxury, and it all starts right here. Hey, Lucy, thank you so much for joining us. Taylor and I are really excited to chat with you today.
Thank you guys so much for having me on. I'm so glad to be back and get to chat with you guys.
So, Lucy, why don't you tell those listening, like, where you're based, a little bit about your business, how you got your start, what's your story?
Absolutely. So I'm actually based in Kansas City. It feels weird to say that because I very, very rarely shoot in that area, which is great and fine. But I'm based in Kansas City, get to shoot all over. I've been in business for just about 5 years, which is super fun. I started pretty young when I was around 17, 18. And so still feel very much like a baby, but learning along the way and have had a lot of fun with getting to create different relationships in our community and just vendors. And so just trying to grow my business and always tuning into your guys' podcast. So it's fun to be on the opposite side this week.
We're so
That's
excited to
awesome.
have you. You were on the podcast a few years ago, and we were kind of like going in a different direction back then, but when we rebranded here early in 2023, we were going through kind of our list of who we wanted to have on the podcast, and your name was like right at the top, even though you're a return guest. So we're excited to chat.
Thank you. Amazing.
Yeah. And Lucy, we haven't chatted for a couple of years. You did a mentor session with us. What was that? Like 2018, 2019?
I remember it was right at the end of my first year of business, and you and Paul were so encouraging. And I remember you saying, this was the hardest year. Like, you did it. You just did the hardest year. And that's true. Like, looking back, like, and I didn't feel like it was that strenuous at the time, but like, there's just so much you have to grow and learn in that first year. And so that was a great mentorship. And so it's fun to get to talk to you again.
Yeah, we have just been cheering for you since then. Like, you just know, like, there's just like filmmakers that you meet with that like, it's just like they're on to big things. And you were like one of those ones that like immediately, I think even Paul and I got off that mentor session and we were just like, Lucy has it. Like she knows the trajectory of her business. Like you could tell you had those goals in place and you started so young, which is, I mean, really cool. And I also think it's really cool when filmmakers find, their art form later on in life too. Maybe they started off in more of a traditional job first and then switched over. But we're just so proud of you. Like, especially that wedding that you did, was it with Birch Event Design?
Yes.
I was like,
amazing.
Dang, Lucy, go for it. Like, that's amazing. So proud of you.
Thank you. That's so kind. That seriously means so much.
So you said you're not shooting much in Kansas City. Tell me a little bit about where are your like most local markets that support your price point right now?
Definitely. So my business kind of had a unique start in the sense that one of my older sisters was actually a wedding photographer for a couple of years, and she ended up exiting out of the industry. But the little stint that she did served me very well because she was like, I think you should do weddings, because I had always been into video but hadn't experimented with weddings. I was also 16, 17, so didn't have a ton of connections to that industry. She was like, you should try it. So I ended up shooting my first couple of weddings alongside her, wherever her couples were, which ended up being LA, Dallas, and a couple other locations. And so that just kind of helped me get off on the right foot of kind of branding myself as destination. And so it's been pretty steady since then. I shoot all over. I have a couple in Tennessee this year, in North Carolina, and California, and get to go all over, which is really fun. And so I don't know that there's one area that I do the most. Last year I did the most in California. And so it kind of depends. But I think something that's been interesting for me to learn is that there are clientele everywhere that can support your price point. It doesn't feel like that. I'm from a very small town in Kansas, and one of my childhood best friends is getting married this fall, and she can afford me. Like, you never know who has the budget and what that looks like. And so just feel encouraged that wherever you are, if it's the Midwest, there are people.
There's money everywhere. There really is.
Definitely.
I feel like that's definitely one of the biggest pain points that we hear, or I would say like points of resistance with people. A lot of, when it comes to business growth and growth in general, like I think as humans, we're really programmed to like stay safe, right? So growth is a scary thing. And when you think about growing, it's natural for people to think of all these reasons why you shouldn't do it. And I feel like one of the biggest, like I said, things that people tend to gravitate towards having as maybe an excuse, maybe not an excuse, but maybe an excuse, is that there's nobody in my area that can afford me. And I think you are like such a testament to that. Like, it's true. Like, there is money everywhere. You just maybe don't see it like out on the streets, but it's there. So it's really, really encouraging to people who maybe don't want to do destination, that it probably is available to you somewhere locally.
Definitely. That's been true for me at least.
Yeah, Lucy, I love that you said that too, because as Taylor said, I think a lot of listeners feel like there isn't a luxury market. Maybe they feel like they would love to shoot it, but they don't feel like maybe they live in New York or LA or those like big cities, like high wealth areas. But like you said, like there's money everywhere, like that could support your business in all areas. And that's so fun that you get to shoot a childhood friend's wedding too.
Yes,
this year you said, or next year?
Yes, this year, October. It's crazy. I have my first bride this September who's younger than me, which might not sound that revolutionary, but I was like, that's so wild. Like, I try not to come across as the baby in the room, but oftentimes I am. And so it's just interesting to see it transition.
Oh my gosh, okay, so we started I was 21 when we started. So not as young. So you're 22 now?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, I was 21 when we started, and yeah, it is interesting. Like the brides were younger, then the brides were the same age. Now, like honestly, now I maybe think that because of how, I mean, the brides are a little bit younger. I'm 33 now. But honestly, I feel like our brides have also matured with the way that our business has matured. So I feel like we still have a lot of brides in their like early mid 30s as well. So it'll be really interesting for you to like ride that journey too, and you'll see how it goes for you.
That is so fun. I think we even talked about that a couple of years ago, just seeing that transition. I agree though. I think couples, maybe it's a generational thing, or maybe it's a market thing, but I see them getting married a little bit older and older.
Yeah, for sure. So, okay, walk us through. You're in year 5 now.
Yes.
What are you charging? What do your packages look like? Like, what is your average that a couple's spending? Tell us all the details.
Amazing. So, just to start off, to preface, I want to say that I never thought I could charge what I'm charging. I also love getting to listen to your podcast and listen to other podcasts where people are open about their pricing. And so I start currently at 10,000, which has served me very well and has been a good rate to be booking at this year. 10 is my starting, and it doesn't get a couple very much. And when a couple is spending that amount of money, they don't want a 5-minute film. They want like an 8-minute film. So most of my couples are spending closer to 15, and then the upper range going to close to 20, which is wild. Obviously didn't expect to be where I am even from the beginning in year 5. And so let that be an encouragement that it's not because it's me that it's happening. It's just that's the way the industry is growing. That's the way weddings are changing.
Yeah. Weddings are changing so much. And like even 10 years ago, like our profession didn't exist as like, it was like a hobby. People had their like regular jobs. Like in when I was in high school, my video production teacher was a video production teacher, and then he shot weddings. Like this is in like the early 2000s. And then he shot weddings on the weekends, and we would come in and he'd be like editing wedding videos as he was like in between classes and during lunch and stuff. And I remember when he he's kind of a family friend too, so he was asking like, what are you guys gonna do with this whole wedding thing? We're like, well, we're gonna like take it full time. I think it's gonna be our full-time job. And he was like, I just don't think that that's like a full-time job. But and you're right, like Lucy, as you said, like the way that the industry is changing is just, it's looking for more full-time wedding filmmakers. And like it's here to support it. So it's really exciting. And I think it's for anyone listening to like jump on that wave of growth that's happening within an industry that's literally booming and supporting these full-time new positions.
I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but even as I've been full-time for several years now, people are like, so are you like still doing the video thing? Like they don't think of it as a full-time career. And so it's just interesting to see that shift. And I'm sure people listening have felt that too.
Oh yeah. Do you have friends who say like, can you come take my picture?
Oh, 1,000%.
I'm like, I don't know how to do photography. I'm so sorry.
I think half of my friends think I'm a photographer. I don't think they know the whole thing. I had a wedding this weekend, and a couple was like, will you take my photo? That's it. You know, everyone gets it. It's totally fine. But it was on the dance floor, so it was kind of loud. And I was like, I'm video. And she was like, no, I want a photo. And I was like, I'm video. And she was like, your camera doesn't take photos. And it was a communication barrier. I should have faked it. Sometimes I do that. Like, I
do
got
that all
it.
the time.
It's good.
I do it all the time. They're like,
I just give them the like, yeah.
Yeah, I always give them a thumbs up. I try to like dance along with them like a little bit, so they kind of get like, oh, she wants us to move. I'm holding a gimbal, but they, sometimes it's just lost in translation.
If you're watching on YouTube, what I do is when people like stop for a photo, I go, it's video, like it's rolling. And then people are like, oh, because like if it's loud on the dance floor, that always gets people like, it clicks in their minds. So I'll be like, it's video. And then they're like,
and I feel like I either get one or the other of they're so into like, oh, so fun. And they start dancing more, or they're like, we're good. Like, we don't need to be filmed.
Yeah. But yeah, whenever also too, when couples are like, or whatever, guests are like posing for a photo, I'll just like pretend. I'll be like, thank you, like got it. And then move on to the next one. But yeah, again, back to it. I think pretty much like every aunt and uncle think that we're a photographer. Like
Definitely.
at Christmas, at like any
family function, they're like, so how's the photography going? And I'm like, it's great. Just like,
no, exactly. You just lean into it. Like, it's good. One of my best friends, she hates it. She hates that people think I do photo because she's like, that's not what you do. And so she'll correct people, but I'm like, it's good. It's love photography.
Love that photography thing I do. It's great. Well, that's awesome. Well, we are so proud of all your growth and like the $10,000 starting. That's incredible.
Thank you.
How have you felt like, what has been your strategy on raising your prices? Did you do like a huge jump ever, or was it a slow build?
It was a pretty consistent build over time. At my first wedding, I think I charged $400, and it was in LA and I was in Kansas. So, I mean, I definitely lost $1,000, I feel like, just through travel expenses. Worth it, obviously. But all that to say, pretty consistent increases over time. And then I think my last jump was maybe like 8.5 to 10. And I actually am going to try to hold at 10 for a little bit because I've been seeing, I know we talked about this a little bit before we started recording, but some of the, a lot of videographers in the community that I have talked to have noticed that it's been a lighter year. And so that's fine. I'm comfortable, but I'm going to hold tight for a little bit and just see what that looks like next year. And see how I can like upcharge, not in a deceiving way, but just to see what I can add on, what I can provide more for clients. And so just trying to work on the experience and not just keep bumping rates for no reason. I want to be really intentional about it.
That's cool. Yeah, I think we are kind of at a holding pattern for now for next year too, just because of a slower-ish year. And I feel like we feel really great about like the market that we're in right now with the planner relationships. So like we have the planner relationships to support our price point. I think that's another thing. Maybe we could dive a little bit into that. Taylor, maybe you could guide us on this one too. But like sometimes it's hard when you go through those jumps, you start to outgrow the planner relationships that you have. And that can be a little bit of a tricky, situation to maneuver.
Definitely. That's a interesting dynamic to work through. I have a planner that I started working with very early on within my first wedding season. And I was nowhere qualified to shoot the wedding that she had designed for this couple, somehow got it. And now I shot a wedding with her this week and we get to work together several times a year. So it's very fun when you are kind of on a parallel trend with friends in the industry and get to see that growth. But like you said, there are vendors that our growth patterns have looked different and now I don't get to work with as much. And so it's just different to what your experience has been. And so it's been interesting.
Yeah, and for somebody who's growing as quickly as you, it feels like every year you kind of have to seek out those new relationships because unfortunately not everyone is growing as fast. Again, like you said, it is so great to find somebody that you can kind of grow alongside. And those are like precious gems that you should try to keep forever. But what is your strategy for like finding new relationships so that you can continue kind of having this, obviously like great relationships within the industry with people who are like-minded as you, but of course like the referral source that is necessary as a filmmaker?
Definitely. It's been interesting to see the transition of my business. When I started, I was so into like gear and editing and what am I doing right? And now it's all relationships. How am I connecting with other vendors? What am I doing to support them, encourage them? Even if that's like commenting on their social media, or I try not to slide into DMs with like no prior conversations, but even if it's just working up to that point of like, you comment on every one of their photos so they recognize your name. And then eventually it's like, hey, I just want to say I love your work. Like it doesn't need to be like, have any weddings you're looking for a videographer for? I hate that. Don't do that, please.
No.
That would come across so terribly. But just trying to be consistent. And so that's been an interesting shift. And I love building relationships and getting to know people. And so that works better when you can do it in person. And so hopefully that can transition at some point. But if that means going to different events so that you can be in person together, WIPA or Engage, whatever that looks like. And if you're not in the room, hopefully your name can be in a room. And even if it's like, I keep referring to a planner friend that I have. Her name is Anne Claire. She went to an event last year with several other planners. There were no other wedding vendors there. And one of them asked her about me. And then she's able to be like, Lucy's great. She's so joyful. She's so whatever that would be. And hopefully your established relationships can build new relationships as well. But like Taylor said, just continue to feed into the relationships that you do have because those are so cherished and some of my sweetest reasons that I'm in this industry.
I love what you
Yeah.
just said. Like, even if you can't be in the room, make sure your name is in the room. I think that was like the quote of the year right there because it's so true. Like, the same way we kind of love to like talk about our favorite filmmakers or our favorite planners, like, the planners are talking too. And if your name can be one of the names that's floating around in a really positive light, like, that's amazing. And because the same way like we trust our referral sources, like they trust each other, like they've already pre-vetted you. So now you have this giant group of planners who just heard your name, who automatically trust you without even like laying eyes on any of your work. So like, huge mind-blowing moment right there.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago we had Heather Hoja on the podcast, and she shared that it is hard for her to refer, vendors that she hasn't worked with before. So she said that a great way for her to, take a chance on a new vendor is when she gets the referral from a fellow wedding planner that she trusts and knows that, they wouldn't let her down with a bad referral. So like you said, having your name in the room, shared around with those planners, that just like helps it's like almost like a third party marketing. Like they're doing your marketing for you
100%.
rather than like you having to be in the room. So, yeah, just making sure that like that name is also like spread in great light, and that means just being a really all-star team player on the wedding day and just serving the clients really well too. So
Definitely. That's what I was just about to say. It all starts with a foundation of just being genuine. People can tell when you're being overly strategic of like, just don't be sleazy. Be yourself. Hopefully you're a kind, great individual to work with, and then that will come across. At least it has for me.
yeah, you are so sweet too. If you're watching on YouTube, look how sweet Lucy is. She's just
I
the
can't.
cutest.
I get told sometimes that I like am like overly smiley, and I don't know. I can't do a serious face to like save my life.
Like overly smiley, like it's a bad thing.
I don't know if people mean it in a negative way. I just think sometimes I can't be serious. Like even if I'm like trying to be very genuine with someone, I'm like cracking a smile here and there.
I have a total like RBF concentration
Really?
face. Like, so a lot of times on a wedding day, I'm like concentrating a lot. And I actually have had guests come up to me and say like, hey, like you have a really beautiful smile. You should smile more.
No way. Kelly, we're on opposite ends of the spectrum. I've had like elderly women come up to me and she's like, I can tell you love your job. And I'm like, I do love my job. Thank you so much. And maybe I'm even like really tired at the time, but wedding music, you hear it on a loop. You hear it a lot, but I'll still get down on the dance floor.
So you mentioned being in the room and you said Engage. Have you been to Engage, Lucy?
I haven't, unfortunately. I'm still hoping to go to the one this December, but I haven't yet. And so that's something definitely on my bucket list for this coming year.
I'm trying to talk Kelly into going too.
To Boca
Yeah.
Raton.
Well, okay. Yeah. Well, okay. So this is another thing that I think, like going back to your name being spoken in the room, I think a lot of people are surprised that we haven't been to Engage yet.
Sure.
But I think what it is that we have just maintained these relationships of photographers and planners who attend Engage, and the name is in the room there.
Definitely.
And so like, I know that I need to go. Like it's the next marketing strategy for us. And we're definitely ready. Like, I think
Sure.
we talk a little bit about this in our course, that when you really need to be ready to make that jump into Engage, because you can really go prematurely and it can like almost be like a disservice or like a waste of money, to be honest. It's very expensive. It's a huge investment. So especially for a husband and wife team, if like both Paul and I were going to go, it would be a lot. So it's the next thing, but I feel like we've been able to like skate by on just the relationships of those who go to Engage and then give our names out there. But again, so that's just another important thing about making sure that your name's in the room, because that can really serve your business well.
Definitely. I'm 100% on the same page. I haven't gotten to go to as many industry events as I've wanted to in the past couple of years with finishing up college and then a graduate program. And so now I'm like on that next stage of hoping to go to all of these different things. But like you said, you want to make the most of your investment because that's what it is. And so not just going flippantly or as a last minute thing, and trying to be intentional about it. And exactly like you said, as a husband and wife team, that just doubles the pressure.
Yeah. It's almost like Engage is almost like training for a marathon. You have to like put in all the work to train for it, and then now you go and you like run the race and you're there. And if you've put in the work in all the different avenues of your business, then you're going to thrive in that marathon. And if you kind of cut corners or you slacked on your training, I guess you could say, then it's going to be like not as an enjoyable experience or beneficial to you, if that makes sense.
Definitely. That does make sense. And even, just going back to the idea of that, when you can't be there, hopefully you've built up enough reputation for yourself.
So over the last 5 years, your business obviously has grown and changed a lot. And before you were serving more of what we would like to call like the mainstream market, and you're definitely jumping into the luxury market. So with that growth, I'm sure you've seen a lot of different shifts. Can you share some of those changes and shifts that you've experienced within the industry and within your business itself?
Definitely. So you can notice a lot of differences just by showing up to an event like that. I feel like sometimes I like to talk to my friends about it because they go to more mainstream weddings, and so they're not used to all of these differences that I might be seeing at weddings. I think one of the biggest things is expectations on you is that your client is the planner and not necessarily the couple. Obviously, you're holding both delicately, and I want to serve the couple so well, but also knowing that the planner is likely the one who got me the booking. And so now, in addition to giving my couples a highlight, I also give my planners a highlight the day after a wedding. And I know that might be overwhelming for some videographers out there, but that has served my business very well. They start tagging you, even if it's a story that is so helpful, when people can just click on your profile and see who you are, what's your account. And that goes with all vendor relationships. If I can send you a 3-second teaser, I'm definitely going to do it. And so that has been definitely one thing. And just hopefully you're presenting yourself well at some of these higher budget weddings. And so how you come across definitely shows in the way that you dress, in the way that you're carrying yourself, in the way you communicate. And so hopefully just being a pleasure to work with, that even a guest who you never have an interaction with can see your professionalism coming across. And I know I've mentioned it a couple times earlier, but I am 22, and to me that seems young. And so I'm trying to carry myself in a very mature way. And that goes with communication leading up to the wedding as well. I know that you guys have talked about this on the podcast, but a lot of times now I'm not communicating with the couple very much, if at all, before a wedding. The wedding I had this weekend, I had like 1 5-minute call with the bride. She didn't know any of the details that were taking place. So just getting to talk to her and be like, I'm the one who's shooting your wedding this weekend. But all that to say, it starts at the very beginning of how you're carrying yourself from that very first call with planners, with couples, and hopefully just letting yourself come across in a professional way, but also showing your personality. I don't think there's anything wrong with hopefully coming across as a real human. And that has served me really well. But I'm trying to think of any other differences. There's a lot of shifts that take place with the transition of going to more luxury weddings, and it's a lot of fun shifts. I know that like design elements really inspire me, and so that's been huge for my business. It just excites me more to get to go to these events and get to capture all of these different elements. But it's been a fun little jump. It's been a fun journey, and getting to experience it day by day, and hopefully be able to pivot when needed.
Yeah. Can you think about like, give me like the best thing that you've experienced, like being in the luxury space versus more of like the budget tier, mainstream tier?
It can be, and again, you have talked about this, but it can be more stressful on some ends, and it can be way less stressful in other ways. And so knowing that I'm going to go into an event and I don't need to worry about the timeline because someone is taking care of that, and we are going to be on target, and there are buses that have ran these routes and know that they're going to get the couple and the bridal party everywhere they need to be, and just all of these micro details that you don't even need to think about are just so flawless, and the event from start to finish transpires so flawlessly. But also feeling the weight and the pressure of the event because it's such a big one. I think that's kind of been a balance for me. I've noticed recently I've been getting more, I don't want to say stressed, but maybe more overwhelmed before the wedding day of like, there's this big pressure. And I think it's a healthy amount of pressure of this is just a really big event. I want to make sure I'm capturing it well. But knowing that, the day really will go so much more flawlessly than some of those more entry-level weddings because you're not the planner, thank goodness, and someone is taking care of every micro issue that you don't even need to know exist. And that helps the couple just be able to lean in and relax, which is helpful as well.
Well said. So true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna, as you were kind of talking about that, like, you know, you don't have to wear as many hats in the luxury space, right? Um, it becomes very apparent maybe when you have more of like a budget or lovely client, probably more budget, less lovely, but when they hire you but you've been in the luxury space. I don't know if you've had any of those, Lucy, where like,
Definitely.
yeah, they really splurge on you, and then
Uh-huh.
you're like definitely that splurge item, and you're doing so much more. I think it is great to like have a foundation in that, because then you know how to step into those roles well, and rather than just being like thrown into the luxury space and then like not knowing how to troubleshoot some of those things. But in the luxury space, it's cool because a lot of times they'll be like, what a planner has is a bridal assistant. So it's someone who's in the room and is there to like assist you with anything you need. So for example, if say you're doing flat lays and you're used to like having to run and go gather all the things, they've either already gathered them for you, they're all there in the room ready for you to style, rather than like, oh crap, I need to go grab the groom's bow tie or the groom's shoes, his cufflinks, and you're like hiking across the venue to go grab them. It's like you just have to like, the bridal assistant's there to assist you too, and so she can just go and do that. Or maybe you're having to set up more of the things where you have to kind of go around and be like, all right, bridesmaids, we're going to transition into a robe shot. Make sure you have no hair ties on your wrists. We're going to do this barefoot. You can like let your shoes go. Make sure you have like your final touches done in the next 5 minutes. Like you're kind of having to initiate all that stuff. Whereas a bridal assistant would come to you and be like, okay, so what's the next thing? And then we'd be like, oh, we need to move into like these like rope shots. And then they would be like, okay, great, I'm going to go prep them. Like it's just another thing off your plate. And like you said, that's where like that's the area where these luxury events are less stressful. And so I think that like I think if anyone's listening, it's a really encouraging piece of leveling your business into that market.
The little things make the biggest difference. Even like bridal stylists who are flipping the dress for you, making sure the hair is perfect, and you're like, oh, I didn't realize I ran up to the couple in between every single shot to make sure that these things were done, and the day just runs so much more fluid. But even as you said earlier, being the splurge item, I felt that a lot last year. My weddings felt very half and half of like very mid-level or mid-level luxury to then somewhere it was very obvious I was the splurge. And how do you make sure your films are edited in a way that they look both equally beautiful, but they're different, and you hope that the client doesn't have an expectation because your dark little area isn't going to look the same as the couple who spent on a whole lighting team. And so just making sure that you're hopefully capturing the day true to what it was and getting to feature the best parts. Something I feel like I really had to hone in on last year was not feeling guilty for not sharing certain weddings. I feel like I didn't share 70% of my weddings last year, which was so bizarre for me. I'd always shared almost every wedding. And so I think that's just kind of another hurdle of like, get over the mental block. They don't care. They're still sharing it. They love it. And knowing that you want to put your best foot forward. And sometimes that's getting to share on social media what the most lovely, most beautiful wedding was.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something that a lot of people have a hard time wrapping their minds around, is they do want to share every single wedding. And for a lot of people, that's like really holding you back from growth. It's good to really only share like your top weddings that you want to have booked over and over again. Like those are like the blueprint to like future weddings that you're hoping to attract. And kind of once you see that shift or like in your mind and then you start implementing it, the inquiries that you start getting start changing drastically. And like you said, like the couples generally, I mean, of course there's gonna be like outliers to every rule, right? But like generally they don't even notice that you're not sharing, as long as like you deliver a teaser to them. If like that was part of like your contract, like they get to share, and like that's all they care about, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
So, yeah.
Or sometimes these like the first two, so we've shot 2 weddings so far. We're currently in late April. And so we've shot 2 weddings so far, and we delivered a teaser to our clients, but they didn't reshare it. Like a lot of times, like these luxury clients, like they're not as interested in like being like an Instagram
showy.
They're not showy. But I mean, and maybe that's just our branding. I don't think that we attract like a showy client, where other like film teams may kind of attract that in like the way that they brand or maybe their own personal like ness. And so I know that the couple loved it because they commented on like the teaser that we shared, saying like it was great working with you and like that was it and like that was great. So, you know, try not to get too in your head too if like someone doesn't share it. It's okay.
Definitely.
They may just
That
not
has,
be, yeah.
sorry, please continue.
No. I was going to say like, yeah, that just might not be their personality. Like I know Paul, like he does not like social media. He doesn't like, even we just had our son's first birthday yesterday and we were like, gonna sing happy birthday and someone was filming for us and I was like, oh, come up here, like sing the happy birthday song. And he was just like, too much pressure. Like, I don't want to be a part of it. Like, I'm so like, he wants to like fall back into the, you know, into the curtains or whatever. I don't know.
Definitely. I was just going to add that I think that's just one other shift. I mean, we could name hundreds of them, but having clients that sometimes don't want to share certain things and knowing that's not on you and that's not a personal attack on you. Because like Kelly said, like they love their film. It's either they're not showy or they don't use social media. It's 100 reasons that doesn't have to do anything with you.
I feel like the higher wealth clients are very like, they value their privacy a lot too, which
Definitely.
is a big piece of it. And I feel like, I mean, I wish I was a billionaire, but I'm not. But I can imagine like they're like the people who matter are here and they're experiencing it with us. And like, what's the point of sharing beyond that? And then you get into the whole like having NDAs and things like that, which can be kind of a shift when you start working with these kinds of clients. But that's a whole other episode.
Yeah, that's a big shift. I remember the first time we kind of got like, I say like slapped with an NDA, not really slapped, but like, you know, I think at the time we felt like we were slapped with an NDA. We're like, who does this person think they are? We need to share our work. This is our work and we have to show this. And now it's very common. Like it's a super common thing for a client to, if they didn't present an NDA, voice maybe that they're a little bit more private, that they would like some say in what's shared after the fact, or at least just to be approved, have something be approved if it's going to be shown. And so, you know, I think it's great to approach that gracefully. And, you know, just know that it's a normal part of the process.
Yep,
Definitely.
normal.
My couple this weekend was connected to Walmart. I don't know exactly in what route, but essentially was Walmart. And I remember when I got the booking, I looked up the couple because I'm one of those videographers who likes to figure out who people are on social media. And I remember I couldn't like find them at all. And now I know like they don't share anything. And I don't have an NDA or anything with them. And she actually did share something from it, but I was fully prepared. Like she might not show anything about being married or anything like that. They like their privacy. It's valued.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a big one in July. This is also a totally different conversation, but at this level that this client was at in how high wealth they were, we were not, so right, in the luxury market, you're chatting more with the planner, right? At this level, it wasn't the planner, it was the client's lawyer and their personal assistant. So we were the ones just chatting with the personal assistant mainly, who then was relaying our contract to their lawyer, or family lawyer. And then we actually all had a call together beforehand. We went through like a couple rounds on the contract, and made sure that everyone felt comfortable on all sides. It was a little bit intimidating, but it ended up being like a really great growing experience. And I think that like 2015 Kelly would probably have been like, whoa, we're out. I'm seeing so many red flags. And I don't think that it's something that you have to feel like it's a red flag. Like, I wouldn't say now 2023 Kelly is like, oh, okay, like they just want to have a conversation. Like, I think everyone, it kind of has like, they just don't know you. Like, so they just want to, once they get to know you and stuff, like, I think that then they're a little bit more willing, like once you get on a call and they realize that like, you're not going to like be out there to like try to make all this money off of their likeness or whatever, then, you know. But yeah, it was just a really interesting experience to like be like, whoa, okay, we've moved past wedding planner on this one into family personal assistant and lawyer. And that was like kind of a, at least we were kind of doing that alongside a photographer friend of ours. So like we could kind of chat together on like what the approach was and like what we were comfortable with. And we kind of established sort of like a united front that our agreements both sort of aligned similarly based on what the client was asking for. But yeah, that's just kind of a side story on those types. It can get to that level.
And that's why it's so helpful to have a mentor who's already experienced the luxury space. And that's the heart of this podcast, essentially, to like help everyone who's encountering these pain points, like have someone in your corner where you can kind of reach out and get insight and assistance with. So yeah, we're so, I feel like we're very blessed to like be in this situation where we are in this day and age with like the internet and like all of us being connected. Like, can you imagine doing this 20 years ago with like maybe not 30 years ago with no internet and like everyone's just like blind to everyone else's business? Like, how scary would that be? I don't know. I think about that a lot. Those are shower thoughts.
I think about that too. Like, I started my business at the time that Instagram just felt like it was at its peak. And I just wonder, like, what would it look like today if I had started 10 years earlier or 10 years later? Just, it's interesting to see how social media has become such a crucial part of being a business owner.
Oh, yeah. Instagram didn't exist when we started our business. Like in
That's
2010.
so
I remember, when did Instagram come out? Like 2012?
Yeah, so I think so.
Yeah.
I still remember we were at our friend's house. They were wedding photographers. And we were like, hey, have you heard about this new app called Instagram that's coming out? Like, dude, I sound so old. Again, the grandma of the industry, I feel over here. And it's fine. I'm embracing it. But we're like, should we create an account? And we're like, yeah, we should create an account. And it was like, should we create a business account? No one's really doing that. It's just like your personal stuff. You just share like in real time what you're doing, like this sandwich you just made, and you just like post it. And you get like 10 likes, not even 3. Yeah. And yeah, and then it turned into like, okay, now we need a business account. Okay, wow, this is like becoming a whole bigger thing. So yeah, back in the day, like it was like Facebook, I think. Yeah, Facebook was like, we kind of have like I feel like we have like a good amount of like Facebook followers on our 618 Facebook account. And I feel like people have asked me like, how did you get so many Facebook followers? And I'm like, dude, I started in 2010 and that's all there was. Like, that was our Instagram,
That's so funny.
Mm-hmm.
No.
I can't imagine if I didn't have the education that there is now. I don't know if I would still be committed. There's so much I've learned through like YouTube, podcasts, mentorships, all of it. It's wild.
Yeah, I feel like, and also just the transparency. It's so great that like transparency is becoming more of the norm, less gatekeeping and all that, because it's only going to benefit all of our businesses more. Like the more we gatekeep, like the more stunted I feel like our growth is going to be. So, it's just really, I think it's really awesome the way that I've seen the shift happen over 13 years. And so it's very encouraging. So Lucy, what's like a big thing you're working on this year? Where your sight's at for 2024? Just kind of wrapping it all up. I want to hear what your new goals are.
Definitely. So I'm an Enneagram 3 for anyone who is interested in the Enneagram. And I love setting goals, and those might be the smallest things. But for me, this coming year, I'm really just trying to work on my client experience, what that looks like from start to finish. Probably the biggest goal I have this year is just to create as many relationships as possible with planners, and see how that can affect my future, the future of my business. But in every day-to-day, just aiming to be better at my job and what that looks like, whether it's editing or how you're communicating in person. But it's been interesting to see where I know I feel like I'm just repeating myself, but in 5 years, so much has happened. And so you don't want to doubt what could happen in the next 5 years. And so just always aiming to take that next step and be fluid. And I have several weddings this year that I'm really excited for. So it'll be a fun year.
That's awesome. So for those listening and they want to follow along on this journey with you and see all these fun weddings that you're really excited about, where can people find you to watch your work and connect with you?
Instagram is a great place to start. Lucy Camryn Films. Camryn is spelled a little weird. It's Camryn. It's my middle name, so I didn't pick it. And then TikTok is another fun place. I'm trying to dive a little bit back into that. That is also Lucy Camryn Films.
Awesome. Thanks, Lucy. You're the best.
Thank you guys so much for having me. It's so fun to get to catch up with y'all.
Thank you for joining us in this conversation. If you enjoyed this episode, please help us reach more filmmakers just like you by taking a screenshot and sharing it on social media. Don't forget to tag us at The Level Up Co.
And join us again next week, same time, same place, as we continue to level up the industry together.